Hello, everyone, and welcome this wonderful evening. We have a great Getting to Know Hillsborough County Public Schools presentation tonight. Tonight, we're going to learn all about our early childhood department. And with us, I only bring the best. Here we have the Director of Early Childhood, Miss Emily Chimino. Thank you for being with us, Emily.
Thank you, Angela. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak about early childhood. So good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Emily Chimino, and I am the Director of the Early Childhood Division in Hillsborough County Public Schools. I was recently promoted to the position about 6 months ago, and so I am learning all new things about early childhood, but I am definitely a firm believer that our learners are very important at all ages, but it is very important that we get our students into schools as early as possible and have them exposed to early intervention so that their foundation of education is solidified early, and we can then project them to be kindergarten ready when they're ready to start at their local neighborhood school. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and bring up my PowerPoint presentation that I have for you all tonight. So I wanted to do a little bit of an overview of what I would like to review this evening with you all. Definitely, I would like to, you know me now, but I would like to introduce you to the supervisors of the various programs and give you their names and contact information, so that if there is a specific program in which you're seeking to find information, or you want to contact directly to get more details, you'll at least have a contact for who those individuals are. I would also like to go over the various programs that Hillsborough County Public Schools offers to our students and families. We do have a wide variety of programs, and so as you listen and learn about the different ones, then maybe you can start to hone in about which is best or which would service the needs of your child specifically. Even though we'll start about talking about the differences in the programs, I also want to highlight how we are trying to have the division practice as many instructional practices and assessments as possible uniformly across all the programs, so that we're doing things together and in the best interests of all learners. Finally, I'll give you some contacts for both in the district and in the community, because we work in tandem very closely with all our community partners in the early childhood landscape. And so I want to be able to provide you with that information as well. And finally, like Ms. Fullwood said at the end, if there's questions that you want to ask me, she'll be observing the chat as we go through. But please, at the end, if there's anything that I can give you some more information about, or if I can't, I will be more than happy to get that information to you later. So again, I'm Dr. Emily Chimino, and my background is in school psychology. I was a school psychologist for a long amount of time, so I was working with a lot of our students with disabilities. And then previous to this, I worked with our deaf-blind students in our district, so I had the pleasure of serving those students and families. And now I was given the challenge and opportunity to oversee the early childhood division, which has been a great experience so far. We have our Head Start supervisor, her name is Miss Andrea Frazier, and she oversees all our services for the Head Start division. The main office for Head Start is located off at Ellicott Street, which is off of 50th, close to James Elementary and Williams Middle School, and that's where they're housed. Our other program is our Pre-K ESE program. These service students who have been identified as a student with a disability, and as a result have an individual education plan, an IEP, and they are served throughout our district in a continuum of services based on student need. The supervisor for that program is Dr. Joanne Manwaring, and she is currently also housed at the Head Start office off at Ellicott. And that's where you can, that's where her base is right now. Another program we oversee is for our VPK, Voluntary Pre-K. And we have a lot of classrooms for VPK, but those are for our students that are getting the year prior to kindergarten. That's when you can access VPK. And Ms. Sandra Show oversees that program, and she is housed downtown at the downtown office. The ROSAC building is what it's called. Our newest position to early childhood is Miss Lisa Haynes, and she's our supervisor of pre-K. She oversees all the decisions about curriculum and assessment, behavior supports in our classroom, social emotional supports in our classroom. So she works very carefully with the 3 other supervisors to ensure that all pieces of the program are compliance-based, but she is the one in charge of the implementation and monitoring that as well. So that's a little overview of who is in the landscape of early childhood. And now I'm going to go into each program a little bit more specifically so that you have information on each of the programs. So Head Start. Head Start is twofold. There is Early Head Start, which is a birth to 3 model. The district does not provide those services. However, I want to let you know that the Board of County Commission, the BOCC Head Start, does have the provision of student services birth to age 3. And Head Start qualification is based upon a criterion. So you have to fill out quite a few pieces of paper to be in an application for Head Start, but it is based on the needs of the student, the socioeconomic status of the family, where you end up going based upon the neighborhood in which you are living in and where it's closest to you. But Head Start in Hillsborough County Public Schools supports students ages 3 to 5. And we have spaces or seats for 1,812 students. So we serve a big majority of students who are identified as Head Start students. We have 92 classrooms, and we are located in 56 sites. So you know that our district is huge. We're the 7th largest school district. And so we're Head Start classrooms are in 56 of the 253 schools we have. I wanted to highlight that Head Start, yes, while the provision of services is very much focused on the child and the learner, a big piece of Head Start is supporting the parent and the family who are then supporting the child. So we provide family engagement services in Head Start. We help families get assistance, whether that's financial or they're looking for educational assistance. We help families fill out applications for jobs or a vocational career. So even though we primarily get you through your child, we also want to help the family acquire whatever services or resources they need, because if we're supporting the family unit, then the child is going to succeed. So that is a little highlight into Head Start. So another program that we have, you might have heard about it and you're like, oh, PEEPS, I thought that was, you know, an Easter candy. I get that a lot. And no, we do have a program in our district called PEEPS. And the acronym stands for Pre-Kindergarten Exceptional Student Education Preschool Services, PEEPS. So if you'll bear with me for a minute, because it is a long kind of path to get to PEEPS, but there are services for students birth to age 3 in our community through a program called Early Steps. And in Hillsborough County, the provision of Early Steps is provided through the University of South Florida. So if a student has any type of developmental delay at birth, whether that be low birth weight, they may have had a seizure, they may have had anoxia at birth, or 18 months or so, the parent or maybe a caregiver is starting to observe that there's some delays in communication or walking or talking or in behavior in general, then the provision to see if you qualify for services is through Early Steps through USF. And I'll be more than happy to put the phone number directly to make a referral to Early Steps. When a child goes to Early Steps and they qualify, they receive an individual family support plan, an IFSP. And the main focus is to support the student and the family in the home with services, therapies, early intervention services, whatever the child deems necessary. And they get those services till about the age of 2.5. And then Early Steps starts to talk about to the family, if the child is going to continue to need those services, the next responsible party to that is the local educational agency or the school district, which in our county is Hillsborough County Public Schools. So at that time, the student, about 3 or so months before their birthday, is referred to an entity called Child Find. And these are a wonderful group of ladies who I got to work with about 10 or 12 years ago. And they evaluate the student for speech language, attention issues, perhaps just global developmental delays, if they have any orthopedic or physical impairments that they need evaluation for. And at that time, the focus kind of shifts from the family support to now the educational needs of the student. If the student qualifies for services, then the district will find the student eligible for an individual educational plan, an IEP, and talk to the family about what is the best way to service the child now for the next few years before kindergarten. And they could be served in one of our full-time classrooms where a student may come 5 days a week, like a normal typical day, and receive services there. They may come to the campus and get speech therapy and then go home. Some students that are having a lot of success in their neighborhood daycares, we may send a teacher there to support the student's need through their IEP. So there is a continuum of services based upon the needs of the student. So the second point there on the slide says students are evaluated from the transition of the Early Steps then to the school district. If, however, the student never qualified for Early Steps, like, you didn't know, maybe you came from out of state and now you're in our state, or you didn't really experience those delays in the first 3 years of life, Child Find does evaluate students 3 to 5, and those students get an initial screening, and then it's kind of the same process if they are evaluated and determined with an IEP, and then talk about service provision. So that's a little bit about our PEEPS classrooms and our PEEPS process. It is quite a large program that we have. Currently, we have 110 classrooms in the district. That is 8 to 12 students who are students with disabilities, and then 8 to 12 students that are typical VPK functioning students, and they're in that blended classroom, which is a wonderful model for inclusion. The students with disabilities have great models, and the typical students really learn a lot from the students with disabilities about differences and understanding one another. And it's really a great collaboration between the two learners together, and everybody benefits. It's really the best model based upon a lot of research. For our younger students, our 3-year-olds, we do have 111 classrooms that are just pure PEEPS, and we try to keep these classrooms between 8 and 12 students. And these are our 3-year-old students with disabilities, and that they come to school, for 5 days a week. And we have 111 classrooms like that. So you can see, 221 classrooms for the PEEPS program. It's very big. As I spoke about a little bit earlier, we talked about that the provision of the IEP could be delivered in the student's neighborhood daycare, because a lot of families need the full day. They need to drop off at 7, they need daycare till 6, and our programs here end at 2 o'clock. So if the IEP can be implemented in the daycare and the parents happy there, we have 9 teachers who go out in our community and provide those services and those provisions in that setting, which is, again, the least restrictive environment in their neighborhood with typical performing kids, which can be very powerful for that early learner. And currently we're serving 1,938 students with IEPs. So you have the 1,812 Head Start kids, approximately another 2,000 here. So far, Hillsborough County in this presentation is supporting about 4,000 of these types of learners. Our next program is Voluntary Pre-K. And I wanted to speak to this to let you all know that the school district of Hillsborough County is a provider of VPK, but we're one provider. There are hundreds of other providers in the county, and VPK is a program that is free to all children for the year prior to kindergarten. It is not based on your income. It is not based on you need to be eligible for anything else. You just need to be a resident in Florida. So you go on to the Early Learning Coalition. If you just type that into any browser, and right now it will say apply for VPK, and you can apply for your VPK voucher right now for next school year. And you can pick any provider that advertises and says, we accept VPK vouchers. And they're going to vary, based upon the institution. Like I said, our programs only go till 2 o'clock, but there are many providers out there that go to 6 o'clock. With your VPK voucher, you, the parent, can receive free voluntary pre-K services for 3.5 hours at any VPK provider. So the first 3.5, whenever that institution starts, is paid for by the state. If that's it for you and that's all you need your child to experience, and that's great and perfect, then it's free to you. If you're somebody like me, a working mom, and you need, the provision till the end of the workday, there is wraparound fees, both through the district and in any community-based provider. They're going to have wraparound fees, which are, again, varying dependent on the institution. So, but it is still a great deal to come to Hillsborough County Public Schools, because you have the ability to come to a public school where there's the library, access to social workers and school psychologists, access to a certified teacher in the classroom, and all the benefits that come with being part of the public education institution. So it's really a little plug for us to come and get your services from VPK through Hillsborough County Public Schools. So when you go on the coalition's website and you apply, then you get a certificate, and that is the certificate then that you will take to that provider. As I said, when I went over the PEEPS program, we have 110 classrooms with that blended model. So the students with disabilities and then the VPK kids in the one classroom. And I want to let you know in that classroom is a certified teacher. So she's certified by the Department of Education. And then there is 2 para-professionals, a teacher's assistants, who help support, all the needs, instructional, safety, toileting, behavioral, social, emotional needs of the student. So the teacher has a lot of support because that's a lot of little ones at one time. So we do provide that provision of that ratio, which is unique to Hillsborough. So it's another thing to have a lot of pride in. We do have, though, in the district, 17 classrooms that are only VPK. So there's no students with disabilities in there. They're what we call VPK pure, and those sit at a ratio of 1 teacher and 1 para for a cap of 20 students. So we do have those all over the place as well, spread out through the district, but those are VPK only providers, and there's no students with disabilities in there. But if they're not in your location or anywhere else, you know that there's going to be a blended classroom close by because there's 110 of them. So our seats are what we've been granted by the coalition is 1,512 seats available to our community. So in total, Hillsborough County provides services to approximately 5,000 pre-kindergarten students, 3 through age 5, annually in the district. And while that's a very large number and something I'm very proud of, we're just a small piece of all students that are 3 to 5 in our community. So if it's not Hillsborough County Public Schools that maybe meets your needs, or other reasons that you can't access the local educational agency, I do encourage you to reach out to us, and we will put you in touch with the coalition, or you can call the Early Childhood Coalition yourself and find local providers and get yourself connected. Because I think it's, like I said at the beginning of the presentation, the more exposure earlier the child has, the better the brain development, the better the socialization, the better the verbal skills, the easier transition the child has then to the kindergarten classroom. So I wanted to highlight, now that we did everything, the different programs, I wanted to highlight some of the commonalities that the programs have to offer our students. So whether you're attend a Head Start, or you're a student with an individual education plan, or you're a VPK student, I think it's very important that we utilize consistent measures and consistent curriculums in order to ensure quality for all of our students, no matter the program. So currently, all the classrooms utilize World of Wonders. It is a curriculum that encompasses all subjects, if you will, this little in life, but it does have early literacy components, pre-math components, social components. So all of those are kind of wrapped in together, and the teacher teaches the different units. And so that is a positive aspect of the program. It's research-based and evidence-based. All our teachers have been trained in it. And then we have supplemental curriculums for the students dependent on their needs at the time. So if you have older students in our district, that kindergarten through 12th, the state of Florida has moved away from the FSA testing, which was, high stakes testing at 3rd and 7th and 10th grade. And now we have moved to more progress monitoring. So students as young as 3 all the way up to 12th grade now take an assessment 3 times a year in September, December, and then at the end of the year, to monitor their progress against the standards for their particular grade level. And our pre-K students do take part in that early literacy assessment measure. So whether you're in VPK, Head Start, or PEEPS, you'll be part of this assessment. And it's really great because as the kindergarten teacher getting you in, you have perhaps 2 years of data on that student's early literacy skills. And so if they're just doing awesome and right on track, the teacher right away can push them into the next levels and really gauging how they're doing. And on the flip side, if there's areas of need, the teacher can then right away develop interventions based upon that so that there can be some supports given. And we're not waiting till the child starts to show those issues. We'll have data right away and can help them right at the beginning of kindergarten. So it's very important that we have that assessment, and all the programs do it along with kindergarten through 12th. Many of the programs, whether it be Head Start, PEEPS, or VPK, are on the same campus. So I think that's a wonderful thing. They do a lot of instruction together, support one another. If one of them has experience in something, the teacher can seek out that collaboration. And the ones who benefit from that the most, of course, are the students. So we try to put as many as we can pre-K units on a campus to support the students one another, but also then to make the transition to kindergarten, if that's the neighborhood school, so much more seamless for the family. The goal of our pre-K services and supports is to have at least 80% of our students kindergarten ready, meaning that on that final assessment, in April, May, the students are projected to be on track for a beginning kindergartner. In the past, pre-COVID, we were probably close to about 58%. Of course, as a result of the pandemic, a lot of our youngest learners haven't really had the ability to be out in the community as much or as exposed as typical. So in the last few years, it's been, around 46%, but incremental growth, we'll get back up there. It's a very ambitious goal, but one that I think is really, really important to have our students ready for kindergarten. So those are some of the commonalities between all the programs. So here I have provided in this PowerPoint all the telephone numbers of really the key individuals and offices of which I've reviewed tonight. The first, of course, is my office, and you can contact us down at the downtown office at any time if you're just kind of generally wanting to know where to be put. The Head Start office is phone number here, the PEEPS office, the VPK office. When I talked about those services for the provision of students birth to 3, and then that transition evaluation, I put that phone number down there for you. And then the Early Learning Coalition, which is where you can find information on the VPK voucher, daycares in the area. They're all get a readiness score, so you can know what kind of quality program you're looking at. I have included that telephone number there down at the bottom, but again, you can go on to any browser and just type in Hillsborough Early Learning Coalition, and all of this information is also accessible through their website. All of the information above it is also accessible through Hillsborough County Public Schools website. If you put in any of these names, there's a page on every information and links in all of them. So, if phone is not easy and you're more comfortable, or it's accessible easier through the internet, please feel free. You can get all of this information through the county's website as well. So I really want to thank you guys for your time. I tried to keep it to 30 minutes so I wouldn't bore anybody, but I really appreciate the opportunity to get this information out to the community so that we can really have a lot of access for our early childhood learners.
Well, we thank you very much, Dr. Chimino, for being with us tonight and going over that thorough. Wow, that's amazing how many students are early learners that we are tapping into. I'm so
Definitely.
excited for this. We do have a question in the Q&A.
Sure.
It says, what is the transition from PEEPS to VPK like? What's that process-wise?
Sure, that's a great question. So I'm going to answer it two different ways. If you are a student who was in PEEPS and had an individual education plan at age 3, when you get to the next year and you're age 4, the year before, you will continue on with services through your IEP. So you do not need to go and get a voucher. Your services are provided through your individual education plan. The positive thing is that you still have the ability to utilize your VPK voucher over summer, which is a wonderful opportunity for you to be able to continue to use that. The summer is a very intensive program because they give you so many hours delineated. Hillsborough County Public Schools is a provider of summer VPK, and we give like a full day all the way till 5 in the evening. So we do have it. Unfortunately, I don't have locations yet for our summer VPK programs, but that will be up and coming as the board approves those different sites. And all students with disabilities who did not use their VPK voucher for their 4-year-old year may choose to use it either with us for summer or in the community for the summer.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing. And typically, like you're saying, with the board approving which schools have VPK, it's typically around a lot of the schools that have other summer programs there. So it won't be like it's just VPK here at the school. It's typically
Definitely.
other students there. So that's a good thing if you have a student in another grade level, maybe they'll be at school together. Although I feel like there's no transportation provided for our VPK students. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, Angela. So for our students with that are on the VPK voucher for the full calendar year, or they would like to utilize Hillsborough County Public Schools for the summer, we do not provide transportation to that. If you are a student with a disability and you are coming to our classrooms through PEEPS, we do provide specialized transportation per the IEP need. And in the summer, it's really up to the family and to the IEP team if VPK is more appropriate or if extended school year, ESY, is more appropriate for the student. If it's ESY, in the past, we've done 4 weeks, 16 days of intensive work on the student's goals and objectives. But if the IEP team feels that student is doing well and would benefit from the longer program with typical peers, they may recommend that.
Very good, very good. Well, if there are no more questions, remember this session is being recorded. It's going to be posted probably by the end of the week, and you can visit us at the website that's listed in the chat. Just grab a hold of it, go to it, like and subscribe, and you will receive a notification anytime they're up there. So with that, I want to say thank you all for being with us and taking the time. And thank you, Dr. Chimino, for you are doing an amazing job. I am so impressed with all of our early childhood programs that we have here in Hillsborough County, the best district in the nation.
Well, I will definitely second that, Angela. It is a pleasure to be able to serve the community. And I just want to shout out that I could not be a leader in this department without all the people supporting me as well. The supervisors, our coordinators, our district resource teachers, all our clerical, everybody works together to make it. And especially to our teachers and paraprofessionals out there and our parents and students.
Absolutely, absolutely. But with that, I want to tell everyone good night and happy Tuesday.
Thank you, everybody.